in memory of the victims killed by neo-Nazis. Their lives were snuffed out and their dreams with them. Many have tears in their eyes. The silence is interrupted by a father who lost his son. Ismail Yozgat steps to the pulpit. He's not asking for compensation money, he says. His wish is that the perpetrators will get punished and that the street where his son was born and murdered will be renamed in his honor. Not everybody can be bought with money. The pain caused by the loss of a loved one and the massive false suspicions by German authorities following the murder cannot be recompensed with money. Then our Chancellor Angela Merkel asks this question in her speech. How could this happen? Why did we not take notice any earlier? Why could we not prevent this from happening? She continues, the right-wing extremists acted with unfathomable contempt for human dignity, and yet we must try to find out how and through whom they became that way. We must do everything we can to prevent other young men and women from growing up to harbor such contempt for human dignity.
In order to answer this question, we would like to shed some light on the main source of anti-Semitism in Germany. Anti-Semitism has existed long before National Socialism. It is the year 1483. It is the transition from the Middle Ages to the modern age, a time of drastic changes. Just shy of midnight, on November the 10th, a child is born. Nobody knows that this newborn boy would later become a dark figure of light and change Germany in an unprecedented way. The child is given the name Martin Luther. In the year of 1517, this self-proclaimed Luther begins to operate publicly. He starts a movement and develops it into the institution of the Lutheran Church.
Various myths have been spread about the life and work of Martin Luther. They cannot change the fact that he was a hate preacher through and through. His own publications confirm this fact in a shocking way. There has never been a preacher before or after him throughout the religious scene of Germany who could compare to him in that respect. The theology of his very own approach on love thy neighbor revolutionized the Germans' attitude. German history proves what kind of havoc Luther's beliefs were able to wreak.
Luther was, is, and will be the pioneer of German anti-Semitism. His writings are proof for his destructive Reformation. Luther said, German ears ring with this phrase, which is often referenced. You will now hear a selection of statements he made in his sermons. Listen and see for yourself how target-oriented the Reformer operated. Luther said, "Fie on you here and fie on you there, and where you are, you damned Jews. You should only read the Bible that is under the tail of the sow and gorge and gulp the letters that fall out of there." The Jews are such a despaired, malicious, poisonous thing that they have been our plague, pestilence, and all misfortune for 1400 years, and still are. Summa, we have true devils in them. First, to set fire to their synagogues or schools, in honor of our Lord and Christendom, so that God might see that we are Christians, and to destroy and shatter their houses likewise. Therefore, wherever you see a genuine Jew, you may with a good conscience cross yourself and bluntly say, "There goes a devil incarnate." If I baptize a Jew, I will take him to the Alps bridge, tie a stone around his neck and throw him off of there and say, "I baptize you in the name of Abraham." If anyone hears of a Jew, he shall report him to the authorities or throw sow dung at him when he sees him and chase him away. And let nobody be merciful or kind herein, for it concerns the honor of God and all of our, also the Jews' salvation. Come near for the kiss. The devil has shit his pants and again emptied the stomach. This is the right sanctuary that the Jews and whoever is wanting to be a Jew should kiss. Gorge, drink, and worship, and the devil himself shall also gorge and drink what his disciples vomit and discharge from mouth and bottom. The devil now gorges with his angel snout and gorges with lust that the Jews' upper and lower mouth vomits and sputters. In one of his table talks, Luther gives the following reply to the question wherever it is permitted to beat a Jew. Of course, I would slap one in the face. If I could, I would strike him down and pierce him with my sword in my wrath. Burn their synagogues, force them to labor, and treat them with all ruthlessness.
I grew up as the daughter of a Lutheran pastor, was baptized as a baby, attended Sunday school, and was confirmed by my father as a teenager. Besides learning all the church traditions, all I learned about Luther were the well-known myths about the Reformer. To me, he was the good and brave Reformer who had dared to nail his thesis to the church door. I was convinced that Martin Luther had given us a better church. What a fallacy. Nobody ever told me about Luther's misanthropy, neither in Sunday school nor in confirmation classes. Religion and history classes in school did not deal with the topic either. My father kept the true Luther a secret from me. When I realized that I had been religiously defrauded, I drew the obvious conclusion and resigned from the Lutheran Church. When I hear the church bells ring today, they remind me of the Luther illusion and all the suffering he brought on so many people.
Luther's next target: Baptists, Mennonites, Anabaptists, and other spirit-filled Christians. The blood of 1,000 Anabaptists is on Luther's hands. Luther called them with the derogatory terms clouded mind, mizzled utopians, deluded spirits, skulkers, furtive preachers, and Anabaptists. Anabaptists literally means those who baptize again, which was prohibited under state church rule. Georg Wagner von Emmering is one of the oldest martyrs of Luther's day. He was one of the great preachers of the so-called Baptist movement. On February the 8th of 1527, he was burned alive at the stake in Munich. In the year after that, Hans Feierer, a successor of Georg Wagner, was burned publicly along with 5 fellow believers. Their wives were first drowned, then burned. One of the most influential leaders of the Baptist movement, Balthasar Hubmaier, was burned in Vienna. 3 days later, his wife was thrown into the river Danube with a stone fastened to her body. These examples represent the historically proven fate of more than 1,000 Christians. In Luther's opinion, Anabaptists deserved death. Think about it, Anabaptists were later called Baptists. Luther said, and a citizen is obligated, where such a skulker comes to him, before he listens to such a one, to report him to his authorities and to the priest of whom he is parishioner. Therefore, the authorities are obligated to punish the obstinate ones. They are Anabaptists or others, with physical violence and, as the circumstances allow, also with the sword. If he wants to preach or teach, he shall prove the ordination or the mandate that drives or compels him. Otherwise, he shall be silent. If he is not willing, let the authorities hand such a one over the right master, called Master Hans. Master Hans is a synonym for executioner here. This is how Luther paved the way for the culture of denunciation in Germany. At the same time, he set the standards for the German Evangelical Alliance to discredit spirit-filled Christians as misled utopians.